Hey everyone, this is the Love of Cinema podcast. We like to talk movies. If you like to talk movies too, you come to the right place.
Ranveer surrendered himself. Aditya made full use of it, and he extracted that kind of a performance, which I think it will stay. This is something which becomes a benchmark for all of Ranveer's future works. Because what is interesting in that, he's not just performing scenes, he's double performing because ek he's acting, okay, as Ranveer Singh, and dusra most of the places he's acting as Hamza to the people. So whatever he's saying, he's not.
Great point.
Sometimes he doesn't mean that. Sometimes
Two films that don't compromise on the writer-director's vision, that dare to go where no other film has, that don't hold back punches, with an aggregate running time of around 7.5 hours and keeping you on the edge throughout. Dhurandhar and Dhurandhar the Revenge are a bona fide phenomenon now. Aditya Dhar and team have scripted box office history, swept into pop culture, and have disrupted hierarchies of all sorts. As always is the case, nothing in this world happens without good reason. And today, we're going to dive deep into the film in an effort to deconstruct and decode exactly how the Dhurandhar franchise has achieved all it has. This is Himanshu, and you're listening to the Love of Cinema podcast. But before moving on, an important friendly reminder. Love of Cinema podcast is my labor of love. And with every episode, I've attempted to create something that cinephiles will continue to find value, not just today, but over time as well. If you enjoy organic conversations centered on Indian cinema, Love of Cinema podcast was created for people just like you. So if you enjoy the pod, please do consider supporting the show. Your support will help me continue creating content with shelf life for fans of Indian cinema everywhere. You'll find the link to support the show in the show notes. You can also support the show directly from the podcast website. It's fast, it's easy, and your support is greatly appreciated. I was delighted to have Abhijeet Shirish Deshpande back on the pod to talk Dhurandhar, its craft, its impact, and its connect across the globe. Abhijeet is the writer-director of the 2018 Marathi smash hit, Ani Dr. Kashinath Ghanekar. Listeners will recall an episode I did with Abhijeet on that film sometime back. Episode number 9, in case you haven't heard that episode. Abhijeet has also co-wrote popular films like Natasamrat, Table Number 21, and Wazir, and cult OTT shows like Breathe. Currently, he's in the middle of his most ambitious project, a biopic of V. Shantaram, arguably the most progressive and influential Indian filmmaker of all time. Abhijeet and I chatted about how Dhurandhar broke new ground on multiple fronts, as we took a closer look at its storytelling, editing, use of music, sound design, the performances, and how the movie hits differently for Mumbaikars and anyone who loves the city of Mumbai. We also looked at why the film will prove to be a massive disruptor in ways more than one. All things Dhurandhar. Here goes. Hey Abhijeet, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Himanshu, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. First of all, thanks a lot for coming back on the podcast. It's been a while since we last spoke, but it's great to have you back.
Thank you for calling me. I remember a wonderful chat that I had with you after Ani Dr. Kashinath Ghanekar, and it was exciting.
So, Abhijeet, today we're going to talk about Dhurandhar, Dhurandhar 1 and Dhurandhar the Revenge. I just wanted to start out by asking you, when you went to watch the film for the first time, the first film, did you have any idea what the film was about? And when you walked into the theater, Obviously, I mean, it depends on when you watched it, if the hype had already been created by then. But could you tell me, like, what was the mindset that you went in with when you went in for the first time?
See, I was anyways going to watch the film because there are certain filmmakers that I sort of tend to follow, and I like to watch their work. So, irrespective of what the word in the market is or what the opening box office is, I make it a point to sample their films. Aditya Dar's first film I had really liked. Then he also produced a couple of films which are also very, very good. Article 370 and Baramulla.
Baramulla.
So those were very good. So it was just going into the space where I wanted to actually sample what is he done now. But what really hit it out of the park was the first teaser that he had cut. Was it a teaser or was it a music video of sorts that he
It
had
was a
cut?
teaser. Yes, yes. The first teaser was off the hook. Yeah, the editing was really
Yeah,
smooth.
and I mean that is something that got me. I said, "Okay, boss, this is something that I genuinely want to see because there was finesse, there was class, and there was a promise that this is not going to be your typical genre film." You know? So, and I went. I mean, I had already decided that I'm going to go for the film. The trailer didn't honestly make me want to go more or anything. I mean, the trailer more or less lived to the expectations. A long trailer, but I had already made up my mind that I'm going to watch this film. And when I went there, it was, of course, like 90% full house, full show. So it was an experience. And after a long, long time, I actually went to a film where people were clapping, people were whistling, and to be a part of that collective viewing experience, which today, unfortunately, is being robbed from us because of whatever reasons, which we'll come to later on. It was great. It was a stadium atmosphere, and I loved every bit of watching the film.
Yes, yes, same here. I mean, I loved the teaser as well. The trailer, like you said, was perhaps not as smashing as the teaser, but I went in with pretty, flat expectations. Like I thought, okay, this will be a good film, but I
Yeah,
did not expect it to be this good. And my first impressions were that it's just an, efficient and a riveting espionage thriller. It's got a galloping screenplay. It had excellent editing, and we'll obviously talk more about that. Insane background score. Another thing that I was really impressed with when I watched it for the first time was the sound design and the sound mixing. And I thought that one
absolutely.
was absolutely one of its strong suits. Part of the reason why I
Yes.
think a lot of people watched it again and multiple times is because the sound design and the sound mixing is so compelling, and that's something that is like piracy proof. That's something that is OTT proof, because you're never going to be able to have that experience on a pirated print, or you're never going to be able to have that experience at home, even if you have like a great surround sound system or stuff like that. So I think that's what really made people go back and watch it again and again. So my first impression was that, great ensemble acting, stunning world building. I mean, just the way that they had created Liari. So I was really impressed first time around.
So I absolutely agree with you that today, when we are in a strange situation, and not just in India, but worldwide, where we are competing with the OTT. And honestly, I'm a very old school person. I like my cinema the way it was designed to be watched in a theater, and I love the collective viewing experience. What Dhurandhar did was become the poster boy for theatrical films. When increasingly there is so much pressure on filmmakers के यार ये फिल्म उतनी अच्छी नहीं बनी है तो इसको OTT पे डाल दो. So OTT honestly in India has become the garbage can, where if the film is not up to the mark, or if the film is going to be super controversial, if there is going to be any noise, just dump it on OTT. And I don't blame that. I don't blame the system, because the way we consume OTT is also in a more bastardized way. It is the way we consume television, where we have this second screen, which is the mobile phone, and we tend to sort of browse through it, and then there are multiple distractions, and that's how we consume the content. So honestly, the collective or the IQ of a person drops several points when he consumes anything with these distractions. Whereas when you go to a theater, your IQ actually jumps 25 to 40%, because you are in a uh, in a more concentrated environment, and you are focused on watching that. So as film, as the adage goes, that the writer has to be smarter than the viewer, because the viewer is coming in there with no distractions, absolute concentration. So every plot twist has to be like a richer plot twist than what he had originally designed, because the audience is going to be smarter. The audience is going to second guess. The audience is going to be two steps ahead. So you have to be four steps ahead of the audiences. So I absolutely agree with you that people went in again and again. But here's the funny, interesting phenomenon. Like you and I, uh, our business is cinema. So we tend to talk about design. Tend to talk about sound. We tend to talk about the edit cuts and all. But for the audience, it's I don't think they're able to define their experience in such a fragmented way or in such a specific manner. What they say, "Arey, maja aaya." So this maja aaya jo hai na, these are the two words which every director, I think most directors that I know, writers, actors, they are today chasing those two words ke maja aaya or maja nahi aa raha hai aaj. So when a film like Dhurandhar comes, जिसमें मजा आता है, we want to go again and again, and it should be a film of the industry. I have absolutely zero clue as to why there was so much debate this way and that way. It's a film which should be celebrated for what it is, because it is bringing back cinema into the theater. Uh, it is a hard answer to the OTT. So we should be celebrating this phenomenon called Durandar.
Absolutely. And, another reason why I really like Dhurandhar is because I think you're also from Mumbai, right? And
Yes.
I'm not from Mumbai, but, Mumbai is, a city that I dearly love. And I think this movie kind of hits different if you belong to Mumbai because, it's
Oh
about
yeah, yeah.
terrorism. It's about the terrorism that has affected the city that we dearly love and has literally changed the face of the city over the course of last 3 decades. Some of the
Yes.
most iconic places, and they maybe changed is not the right word, but it has definitely altered it, right? Like for example, Gateway of India used to be a place where you could just walk around and go anywhere you want. Now you can't because there is so much security there after 26/11. So I thought that for somebody from Mumbai or somebody who really cares about Mumbai, who loves Mumbai, the city, they would love this movie. And, I kept going back to something that legendary American critic Roger Ebert said about Spielberg's Munich. I remember he said that Spielberg did not have to make Munich, but he needed to. And, I would wager something similar that Aditya Dhar did not have to make Durandar, but he needed to. I think somewhere for him, for Aditya, Durandar was an act of courage and conscience. And that's something that I really admire. So, Dhurandhar also hits differently for people from Mumbai, I think.
I would just add another C with that, courage and conscience. You said, right? I would say catharsis also, because sometimes there are certain experiences that you experience firsthand or secondhand or generationally you experience, and you just want to talk about them. Like great, you mentioned Spielberg. Now, if you see, there was a long time till Spielberg did not acknowledge or wasn't uh, comfortable acknowledging himself as a Jew. But when he reclaimed that identity, the pain that hit him, and that is there in the Spielberg documentary, you'll see that you cannot make a Schindler's List unless you have internalized that pain. That film, Schindler's List, is something so phenomenal. I don't think even Spielberg will be able to repeat that thing again ever. So I think it is about giving way to your pain, and you cannot hold that pain too much more in your heart. You have to express it. You have to talk about it to people. You have to share it. Only then will you be able to come to terms with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Abhijit, let's talk about the storytelling now a little bit and the writing
Right.
of Aditya there. Again, first impressions when I watched Durandar was that this is a piece of, clear and decisive storytelling. The kind of film, that will prove to be a landmark, one that inspires young new writers because it's so clear in its vision and what it wants to achieve. Another thing that I found very interesting about Dhurandhar is that, both the movies are really long, right? The first movie is 3.5 hours. The second movie is almost 4 hour longs. And I
Yeah.
think Dhar has found this kind of a, knack for able to hold your attention for these large spans of time. And the way that, one of the ways that he has done that is by chapterization, because I think chapters allow you to hop around with the story and you don't need to put boring segues just to link stuff up. And I think chapterization also helps in resetting your attention levels with each chapter. Because increasingly we are talking with a generation that's used to watching such short format content, that being able to hold their attention is key, especially if you're going to make these long movies. And I think that's what chapterization allows you to do. And it's a device that Dhar has used very effectively, not just in this movie, but as well as Article 370 and Uri. So I thought, these are little things that he does, little devices that he used to get around that kind of an attention span issue. And he did it quite brilliantly.
So I think that is the what do you call that, the garnishing or thing, putting it into chapters. Like, I was talking to a critic the other day. So he said that uh, you know people today watch web series, like eight episodes. So that was his, of course, analysis, which I didn't agree with. He said that, which is why when Dhurandhar was into 8 chapters, it felt like a comfortable viewing because it's the same audiences that you're talking about. I didn't necessarily agree with that. I thought it is essentially the power of the writing is not necessarily in the structuring of Dhurandhar, but it is in the honesty with which he has designed the characters. And I'm now purely talking about writing. I'm not getting into the direction or the design or everything. I'm just talking purely the writing. The way he has designed the characters, the way he makes you feel for the characters, is why he's able to hold your attention span. Like every 2 3 weeks, some of the other original film which is shot on which is purely for an OTT, it comes out, and it is not able to hold your attention span in spite of it being 1 hour 45 minutes, 1 hour 50 minutes. So I think attention is not a function of how short it is or how crisp it is, but it is about how engaging it is. And Aditya has, with Durandar, it has been proven that time is really relative, like the famous saying goes that if you are with a person who you don't like, even 2 minutes seem like 2 hours. And if you're with a person whom you love, even 2 hours seem like 2 minutes. So it's the same thing with storytelling. If the characters don't engage with you, if the characters bore you, or if the storytelling is not interesting enough, you will be bored in 1 hour 50 minutes. I mean, people today are genuinely, Himanshu, not able to engage with web content because that gratification isn't there, that engagement
Right.
isn't there. And there we find a lot of labels or we find a lot of excuses. Can no, there is a second screen viewing that happens. A person is also watching. So we are actually told, you'll be shocked, that we are told to dumb down the quality of our writing because we are talking to people who are so distracted. I don't agree with that, because see, with Durandar, I mean, you don't have to do all those dumb things to make your writing engaging. You can be smart, you can be honest, you can be genuine, and make a film which will make you, you know, go there for 4 hours and, even after that you come out, you say, हाँ, और थोड़ा 10-15 मिनट होता रहा तो चलता था. So I think it's a function of characterization and good storytelling
Yes,
more than the
absolutely.
chapter.
Absolutely, absolutely. And boy, did he hold your attention or what? I mean, just the
Absolutely.
opening scene, of Dhurandhar with Madhavan
Yeah.
standing by the plane and the background score, Abhijit,
Yes.
feels like something out of a
Yes.
sci-fi movie. It creates an air
Absolutely.
of suspense and mystery and has you locked in already within the first few seconds. I mean, the opening scene and you're locked in.
Yeah. I mean, talking about, we'll come back to the writing part, but since you mentioned the background part of it, and especially the first scene, see what happens most of the time. Uh, Music is usually used for emotional guidance. But what he does is in this film, and a lot of filmmakers in the West are also experimenting with that. That when you're stripped of this emotional guidance, it helps you understand the character's state of mind. That artificial silence that you create, it is only building up towards something. So that he does very well. Even the violent scenes he contrasts with interesting music. which sometimes can be poetic, which sometimes makes the impact more disturbing rather than celebratory. So I would like to give an example of my very close friend Vijay Nambia, who actually did this for the first time in our industry. If you remember Shaitan, and I absolutely complete credit to Vijay Nambia. How he do you remember Shaitan the film
Of
2011?
course, yeah, I love that film. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So how he used Khoya Khoya Chand on that entire chase and firing sequence, it is a textbook for all filmmakers who are going to come into this industry, who are already there and who are, sort of, who have been there for a while. The way he has cut with Srikar Prasad's editing, the way Bijoy designed that sequence, I see a lot of that. May not be a direct inspiration, but I see a lot of those ripples reflecting in the way Aditya Dar is using a lot of these old songs and all to juxtapose the action. So that was very, very interesting, like just the two of them talking, Gaurav Gera and in the beginning. And the song is Humko Fasana Ya Chukke Chukke Raat. So that kind of a thing, all it's just such a contrasting song to the situation that it gives you, it just amplifies that moment to something better. So those are my two bits on since we are on the sort of the sound and the background of it. It's amazing, amazingly done.
Amazing stuff. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the musical cues that show up during SP Aslam shots, and there is
Oh
this
yes,
unique
Hawa Hawa I think
jazz.
is SPS Love, right?
Yes, Hawa Hawaii and all those retro songs are definitely there. Tamma Tamma,
Yeah.
Hawa Hawaii, and all those.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah.
even the background scores, like I remember when we first get a glimpse of the Liari Task Force office, it suddenly breaks into a smooth jazz piano. And it's a high speed shot of Sanjay Dutt walking into the office. And it's magical the way that it all, comes together.
Yeah, but see now, talking about that specific moment, if you see, it's a great example of editing also. If you see what is the previous scene where they are sitting in a theater, I think, and watching a film, the
Right.
girl, Sarah and
Yes.
this guy. And they're talking about, my father wants me to marry someone and I'm doing this, all this so that getting into medicine because I can just escape the routine and all that. And he says that, if I don't get out of here, he'll marry me to some किसी burger बच्चे से शादी करवाएंगे मेरी. So Ranveer looks at her and says that तो burger बच्चे से नहीं कर तो किससे शादी करोगी तुम? So she's like so angry and it's like the typical lovers tiff sort of a thing. And she looks at him, that idiot, I want to marry you and why you don't understand. It's like that. And the background music kicks in. He lingers on that shot a little longer, okay, between them. And that is the brilliance. That same music, okay, I think it's the violins that play, if I'm not wrong. The violins, the same music continues on this wide shot where Sanjay Dutt is walking with those two bodyguards, I think, and he enters the Leary office. So now imagine this kind of a contrasting, like from a love scene, you have come to an extremely contrasting mood in a scenario, and a guy like Sanjay Dutt, as SP Aslam, it just creates, it just keeps you a little on the edge, and that is what I like about it.
Yes, yes, absolutely. That's a great point again, because something similar happens in one of the great action set pieces of the film as well. The first film, the action sequence in the car, when Rahman tries to attack Hamza from the back seat. There is a controlled
Yeah, yeah,
chaos to
the
it.
climax.
Yes, the climax and the title track drops, and the action is intercut with a shot of Sanjay Dutt, waiting further down the road. And again, these,
Yes, yes,
slow mo close ups of Sanjay Dutt, Dhar
yes,
shoots these close ups and medium close ups of Sanjay Dutt, almost as if he were his muse. We get these close ups intercut with the action from time to time.
yes, yes,
And in most of them, we see Sanjay Dutt smoking, and there is a very stylish flair to it. So, but it just creates a
yes.
very different kind of an experience, because you're in the middle of this controlled chaos, this action, and suddenly it kind of, cuts to Sanjay Dutt just looking into the camera, and, it's a medium close up
Oh yeah, yeah,
of him smoking. And so all these little things that, kind of really bolster the storytelling.
yeah. I mean, if you see, like modern day editing is also about from sudden chaos to calm and from calm to sudden chaos.
Right.
Hard, like they are like punches. There's no cushioning there. It keeps the audiences, like I said, on the edge a little off balance, And I mean, if you observe, especially the second part, okay, you'll have these quite stretched out moments which give you those sudden bursts of rapid cutting because of this contrast. Even the simple moments start carrying tension. Like if you remember that Flipperachi song, yeah, if you see that after that whole dance happens, he's like crowned and all, and then after that they take the delivery. It's like a time lapse, so they take the delivery. The song continues, okay. The song continues, and then they get the delivery, and Hamza and that Akshay Khanna's brother, they are like these two little kids with gizmos, and they are like
Yeah,
just firing away in the
firing away.
desert and all, and they are so happy. They are so like typical boy stuff, They're so happy with it. And Akshay Khanna is just watching them and he's just laughing. Okay, these are kids, that kind of a thing. And just the music is going on so well, and suddenly abrupt cut, and you have a Sanjay Dutt tight close, tight of the tightest
Yeah,
close of
yeah,
his.
I love that scene. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a great cut.
Yeah, yeah. That whole cut from the sundown scene of them, firing away
Right,
their
right, right.
toys to Sanjay Dutt. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
I
yeah.
just wanted to talk about two more things, before while we're on the storytelling. And these are just little things, but I think, they're very indicative of how, Aditya likes to tell his stories. And the first thing that I wanted to talk about were those three shots of mother and a child that we see over the course of the two films, right? And each time it's a different emotion. It's a different state of mind for Jassi slash Hamza. So first time when we see that shot, I think Jassi is traveling back from UP in the train, right? And he's
Mhm.
almost indifferent
Mhm.
to it. He sees them and he has other things on the mind, right? Because what he plans to do after getting back home, there is something that he's planning in his head. So that's on his mind. So he's almost indifferent to that. Then, when he's
Okay.
traveling on a bus in Afghanistan, he's happy to see the kid and the mother bond as he's not quite in the middle of any action yet. And probably somewhere, he believes he'll be returning to his home, to his own mother
Correct.
in not too distant future. So, again, a similar shot, but very different frame of mind, very different emotions. And then finally, the third time around, when he's returning to Pathankot, after returning to India, he's sad because he knows he will never be able to experience this bond, that of a mother and a child, again in his lifetime. And this time, he
Right.
gets emotional. We see tears in his eyes. I liked how a very similar shot, almost an identical one, is used at three different times, under three very different circumstances, and at three very different stages of the story, and with three very different emotional beats. So just simple thing, but again, the way that he has used this, it's just phenomenal.
So yeah, I mean, great observation there because a lot of times what the makers try to do is that you use your background without any dialogue or anything. You just create uh, like action in the scene, like action in the background, which uh, which just stays, and you sort of just create these images, which at that time may not add up to anything, but in hindsight, like you're just saying, or maybe 2 scenes later, they just amplify the impact to another level. Instead of him just going there and then deciding not to go home, but these three shots, what they do is that they create aspiration for the character, they create hope, they create want in the that I want to do this, I need this, and then later on when he chooses not to, uh, it sort of becomes a harder choice, and then the audiences are with him because through the lens of the character, what you have done, you have shown what the character is feeling in his mind. So, so yeah, I mean, nicely done again.
And then one of my other favorite parts about Dhurandhar is, and this is probably part of the writing. It's the way that Daud has been portrayed, right? And the way
Mhm,
that
mhm.
Daud's end has been shown, fictional, account of revenge. But
No,
this thing that I found very
like,
interesting,
there's no end to it, right? No, but he doesn't die, right?
he doesn't die. He's dying a slowing. He's dying a slow death.
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
point that I wanted to make was, I wanted to talk about another film here. The film is
Mm,
called D-Day by Nikhil Advani. So both D-Day and
yeah.
Dhurandhar, The Revenge, the second part, the second Dhurandhar film, took a stab at, fictional accounts of revenge against Daud for his terrorist activities. D-Day was more along the lines of a straight-up revenge, where an Indian agent literally takes him out with a gunshot.
Extracts him.
Yes, and
Yeah.
takes him out with a gunshot at the end of the film. Durandar takes a very different approach, one that almost plays like a psy-op against doubt. Allow me to explain. So, this might sound a little far fetched at first, but I think this is what Aditya Dhar was trying to do. And again, I could be wrong. This is just my reading of the film. But I think essentially this is a psy-op against doubt. And what do I mean by that? So, 13 Clifton, Dowd's residence, is shown as a shadow
Mm,
of its former self. When we
mm,
see
mm,
that bungalow, for example, the opulence
mm,
is still there. It's a huge, mansion, but it's rather an empty opulence. I remember reading in an old print piece on Dowd sometime back in late 90s what his daily
mm,
routine used to look like back in the 90s.
mm,
And the piece mentioned that mornings used to start late with a swim in
mm,
his sprawling pool and in the company of beautiful women.
mm,
Now, when Hamza arrives at 13 Clifton, it appears to be roughly around that same time, late morning.
mm, mm,
And we
mm,
also get a fleeting glimpse of the swimming pool and the women,
mm,
but the man is nowhere in the picture.
mm,
He's far away. He's
mm,
confined to his bedroom. In fact, confined to his
mm.
bed. A frail old man in very poor health, living on medical assistance. His condition is a direct result of a covert operation conducted by an Indian asset many years ago.
Yeah.
But this portrayal of Dawood is very interesting for me. It completely shatters the old, outdated image of Dawood propagated through movies and shows. That this is not a man who is throwing lavish parties and having a ball. He's a frail old man now, on his deathbed, dying a slow death. It robs him of any and all glamour. Glamour, that Bollywood has lent him over the decades. If that ain't a psyop, I don't know what is, you know.
No. So what they have also done, and just correct me if I'm wrong here. When they show Rakesh Bedi, I think he's the guy uh, s- who does that operation on the right? I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
of trying to kill him. So I think at that time they've shown the opulence
Exactly.
in the flashback.
Something in the
Yeah.
past, right? At one time,
Yes.
there was opulence there, right? And that's again the great thing about showing, kind of shifting this chronology of events, right? Because first we see this, and then we see, okay, once upon a time there were lavish parties there, right? And he was literally king of the city, king of the town. But now, no longer that's the case. And another part that I found really interesting is not many people might not know about this, but Daud hated, Rahman Dakit. He hated his guts. And for good reason. Rahman Dakit had killed his younger brother Noora after brutally torturing him. In fact, in Dhurandhar 2, there is a scene where, SP Aslam kind of tells
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
story to Major Iqbal. And that is a true story. Now, who does, Dhurandhar lionize in the first film? Of course, Rahman Dakit. Elevating the character, glamorizing it to the hilt, allowing
Correct.
it to
Correct.
form all the aura in the world. This larger than life lionization of Rahman Dakit is also part
Mm,
of that psyop against Daud. And Akshay Khanna, of course, ran with it and totally killed it. And I always saw this as, Aditya Dhar's personal kind of revenge for two people that we could never get to. One is Daud and one is Major Iqbal, who we'll talk about later. But this is an interesting way of, and again, it's a fictional account. It's a movie, and it's just a story that he's trying to tell. But I found it really interesting.
A lot of the things that are there in the film are well researched. Now, if you remember, like some 6, 8 years back, or maybe not so much in the past, maybe a little lesser than that, maybe 3, 4 years back, there was a news that was flashed into the Indian media where Dawood had some stomach poisoning or food poisoning, and he was so maybe there is
True,
some
there was
truth
some
to what
attempt.
he
Yes,
is. Correct. And I'm sure Aditya would know more than what you and I would know,
yes, yes,
because
definitely.
he has researched
Right,
things. So I don't know. I mean, there might be a lot of truth in that more than just a fantasy, because it's, I think, every true Indian's fantasy that thou should die a death worse than death.
right.
So yeah, I mean, it's not just a dream, or it could be based in reality. Is what I'm. guessing.
Yes, yes. I definitely. I mean, like you said, I mean, this is all based off news items and the research that Aditya Raj Kaul has done. So definitely,
Aditya Dar, Aditya Dar.
Aditya Dhar, and the research was done by Aditya Raj Kaul, journalist.
Raj Kaul. Okay,
Yes,
okay, okay,
yes,
okay,
yes.
okay.
So definitely, there's more truth to this than it's not all fantasy, but obviously it is a fictional account. I mean, and the movie is a work of fiction, although it's based on research and but
Yeah,
some of most of the part about the terrorist attacks and everything is true. But
yeah,
this is the interesting aspect of Dhurandhar that I thought that it kind of runs this kind of a psyop against two people.
yeah.
Dawood, who has been a co-conspirator since 1993, pretty much every terrorist attack since 1993, and Major Iqbal, who was the handler for the 26/11 terrorist attack. So I thought
Right.
this was a very interesting way of dealing with that, and we'll talk about Major Iqbal more. But yeah, I mean, what do you make of this? Like, do you think this? Do you see this as a storytelling device, or you see this as essentially just something that's based off the news?
See, I think I don't think the film could have ended in any other way than this. Because if you're building Major Iqbal to be this guy, and see, eventually, like you said, okay, it's a film. A film always has there has to be a gratification in the end. There has to be, as in there is usually a gratification in the end. So when you're building him to be this guy, when that goosebumps scene where sort of where he's handling that and he's instructing people to during the 26/11 attacks. So once you're pushing some character to that level of evil, you want to see as an audience him suffer and suffer in the way in which he does in the end, where he's I think blown off or like he's killed in the most uh, gratifying but very uh, morbid way. So you want that. I mean, I don't think it could have ended in any other way. And with doubts, you can't take too many liberties there because then again, um it goes into that space of unreal thing, unrealistic this thing. If they would have, say, for example, bumped him off. Now we all know the out continues to live. So you can't bump him off just like that. Then that would have made it कि यार ऐसा तो हुआ नहीं था. Then the entire all the things that he has shown in the film, they come under question mark. Okay, oh, so was this true or was this true? So I think it's a perfect ending to both these characters. Uh, that one statement that Rakesh Bedi makes that he's living, but he's living a life which is worse than death. That kind of serves as a gratification to me.
Sums it up. Yeah.
And yeah, it sums it up. I'm happy there. And for Arjun Rampal character, the ISI handler, I think the gruesome end that he meets is good. It's really makes you happy.
Yeah, I also was, it's very interesting what he has done with that character of Major Iqbal and the way that Arjun Rampal has played it. First of all, when I saw this movie for the first time, the first thing that hit me was I was wondering if Rampal's brief for this character included Hans Landa from Inglorious Bastards. Because there are those shades,
Hmm.
especially,
Hmm.
there's a venomous ring to Bol Beta that Arjun Rampal says while he's,
Hmm.
torturing that Indian spy. I found it
Hmm.
much similar to, Landa's, Rawar Soshana, when
Hmm.
Landa allows Soshana to escape.
Yeah, she had to run. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, at the beginning of the film. So I'm just wondering if that was part of his brief that, this is it's evil incarnate. And so he's probably given him some kind of cues or
Yeah, but the subtle
references.
difference between them and why I know I may not necessarily agree with that
Sure.
is because uh, see, when you introduce Arjun Rampal, the ISI handler, he's doing a job. It's more business. It's more talking shop. And in that when he gets a moment where he sort of this thing, he tortures that guy and all that. But more or less, it is business. He's looking at this entire thing as a business. Even terrorism is a business for him. Whereas Colonel Hans Landa, and why Hans Landa, when I read the script, so don't ask me how, but I had read the script of the film before it released. So I'm not going to tell you how. Inglorious Bastards. I'm talking.
You will
So
have to tell me
yeah,
offline.
offline. So when I read that, I knew one thing for sure that this character, whoever this whichever actor is going to play this character is going to win the best supporting actor, and it did happen. You know, because it was so brilliantly written. Colonel Hans Landa enjoys the violence. He enjoys manipulation. He enjoys. He could have easily gone to the sort of an, but he likes to play with his shikar before killing it. He's that kind of a guy, which makes him even more evil than Arjun Rampal. So that I feel is a subtle difference between
I see.
how characters use violence as in a functional way, whereas characters who revel in violence, who like to taste it, who like to smell it, who like to live with it, like it's like a red wine. You swirl it, you twirl it, you smell it,
They
you
have a
shake it,
fetish for it,
you
right?
sip it. You have a fetish for it. You enjoy it. You make love with that wine. So he makes love with his people whom he's going to kill. He likes doing that, Colonel Ansel. So I mean, two different villains, but I mean, both nicely written.
Yes, yes. And that whole angle with Major Iqbal and his dad, again, I think that's again a part of
Oh, brilliant! That was very good.
psy-off
I really
on
like.
Major Iqbal. Because this is, in
Yeah.
a way, an attempt to expose and rid an evil man like Major Iqbal of dignity and, carry out like a psychological
Yes.
hit on
Yes.
him. And,
Yeah.
the way that he has written it, it kind of also goes much beyond that because he uses his dad as the foundation for Iqbal's, ideology of hatred towards India and how has been permanently brainwashed by his own father, who is again representative of a certain vintage of the Pakistan army, who have lived in a fabricated world of false laurels of the
Right.
1971 war. So all of this kind of,
Mhm.
the way that he has brought in together is very fascinating.
Yeah, but there is an interesting facet to it. Like he keeps saying that, I have raped 1,000 Hindu women, during that whatever Bangladesh war and all that. What is interesting in that is, when I was watching that character, I felt that this is exactly this through this character, the makers are trying to. That's the Indian gaze towards ISI. कि तू तो पागल ही है, तेरे से तो कुछ होगा भी नहीं, तू तो मतलब you are worth nothing. You will only keep doing these little tidbits of violence and all, but eventually you'll amount to nothing. So I thought it's a larger global perspective towards Pakistan because if you see any act of violence, terrorism has its roots in Pakistan. Pakistan might feel that they are really running these networks and all that, and they are laughing stock for everyone today. Now you need someone to point out that they're idiots. Now a Madhavan, which is Ajit Doval, if he says that you are idiots, then it will be taken with a pinch of salt. कि हाँ, वो तो इंडिया तो बोलेगा ही. But जब Arjun Rampal's own father says that you are an idiot and that you are worth nothing and that you will be able to do nothing, that kind of lands the punch in a much more harder way than some Indian or some Americans or some Israeli saying that.
And I wanted to talk about the end of Major Iqbal and that action set piece
Yeah. Yeah.
that starts at Murid Ke. And there is a couple of scenes that I really liked there. One is, when Hamza and Iqbal are having a go at each other. And there is a scene where Iqbal is trying to crush him with huge, iron chains. And
Yeah.
suddenly, Hamza is able to muster the strength to flip him over his back and get back
Yeah.
on top and
Yeah.
get back in control.
Yeah.
This scene, hits hard later on when you watch the post-credit training montage, where
Mhm. Mhm.
Bansal is overseeing their training. And he tells Jassi, only muster all your strength, go full throttle, only when your life is on the brink of collapsing. And at that
Mhm.
point, it hits us
Yes.
what
Yes.
he did
Yes. Yes.
earlier when he was
Yes.
being
Yes.
crushed by Iqbal. So again, the way that the chronology shifts and the way that he has put in those scenes, they hit kind of
They fall into place. Yeah. Eventually
everything
they fall
falls
into
into
place.
place like a jigsaw
Yeah.
puzzle. And even his final end, right? I mean, Hamza kills Major Iqbal by dropping him in a
Yeah.
kerosene tanker and setting it
Yeah.
on fire, resulting in a massive, massive explosion. There's very specific reason behind it. For that, you need to go back to Dhurandhar, the first movie, where Iqbal is giving instructions to the 2611 terrorists.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he tells one of the terrorists to start blowing up things. And he says, जब तक आग दे शोले नहीं निकलेंगे, तब तक माहौल नहीं बनना. And he asks him to throw the grenades and start blowing up stuff. And that's exactly, how he falls in the end too, because there is a massive explosion. that, okay, now that there is a massive explosion, ab mahol ban raha hai, you know. So
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
this is very, it's,
It did have a great payoff that way.
it did.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I really enjoyed, the way that the final, culmination of Major Iqbal.
yeah. I know that how much of I know what part an editing can play, and this is a film. I had even tweeted about it. That the first part, it is an editing marvel. It is one of the best edited films you will see. The way it has been cut, the way they have just used sharp cuts. They have used, even music as a part of editing. It is amazing, amazingly done.
Yeah, a couple of, sound editing, instances that I was blown away by was the Ramba Ho Ho song and the shootout. Initially when
Ramba oh, when they're done.
yeah, at the wedding party. Initially when the
But even
gunman, sorry,
yeah, but no, sorry. So even that sequence where they kill the Pathan gang, where they decide that we are going to take them out before the election, whether that person gets dragged by the rope,
the news gang.
and that entire action sequence where he avenges his son's killers.
Yes, absolutely.
It is brilliant. If you
Brilliant.
see that, na, I
And
mean, you jump times also.
yes,
They've jumped times. So you're here, then they're again there, then they are here. Then you catch the characters in something. So you kind of, there is anticipation, there is build up. Then yahan pe you have already killed, then again you go back. So it's very nicely done. I mean, this aspect, this particular sequence, you can make out it is not writing. It is, they have done it on the table.
right. So we should actually give credit to Panicker as well, who's done a great
No,
job.
no, I mean, both writer director is Aditya, of course, and the editor.
Definitely.
I
Of
think it's
course.
a beautiful sort of coming together of these two energies, and it's brilliant,
Yes.
brilliantly done. That editing, it should win all awards ideally, but you know how it happens.
Yeah. So the two, instances that I really liked was, like I said, when the Ramaho song is going on, initially
Yeah,
when the gunmen enter, the song is still playing and then it stops. And now the sound only consists of the semi, auto weapons going off. And then suddenly, after a while, the song resumes in the background, but this time it's synced with the gunfire at the time. So, it comes off as
yes,
if the gunshots are part of the song.
correct.
And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
the another instance is where what you were talking about when they go off, bumping off the Pathan gang.
yeah.
And there is this great cut from Rahman Daket's close up to Babu Daket, fleeing in the auto. And the sound
Yeah,
segues from the sort of a siren sound, which is probably created on a synth, to the vroom of a
yeah,
speeding auto. And it's magical,
yeah.
it's like that siren has segued into the vroom of a auto rickshaw. So again, that's
See, now
some
these
great
are the
sound
things.
editing.
See, now this experience of watching something like this in a theater is what people go back to, right? I mean, you're going to spend your 500 rupees and 4 hours to enjoy this thing. They will never be able to decipher it the way you and I are doing it. That this is sound or edit. But that's what I'm saying. That technical finesse should never be about indulgence. It should be about amplifying experience for the audiences. And this is exactly what it has done. You know,
Right, right. Absolutely. Yeah. At the end of the day, I mean, like you said, it's maza aaya ki nahi. That what counts for a
Maza
Kapoor
aaya,
fan.
yeah. Those are
Right.
the
He's
keywords.
not going to deconstruct each every scene and everything. Yeah,
I mean, like we go to a restaurant, yeah, we go to some good restaurant. या मद्रास कैफे जाते हैं हम लोग, which is at my favorite thing in Matunga. Now I don't know ना कि what oil they put or what how much mustard or whatever, but I know that when they make that dosa and sambar, it is brilliant. I don't know how they make it, but I keep going. In fact, a lot of my meetings I sort of schedule them so that I can stop by at Madras Cafe because it's closed in the afternoon. So that's exactly what happens with the audiences, that they are not able to pinpoint what worked for them, okay, but or they are not able to articulate what works for them, but it's a collective experience that makes them go back.
And what did you make of the whole 2611 scene, the red
No,
screen?
it was honestly, it disturbed me honestly, and it just did what he intended to do, what the makers intended to do with it. It was you felt angry, you felt angry on the regime, you felt helpless because I remember that night. I was at home. And then for the next 3 nights, I remember the emotions that not just me, my relatives, my family, my parents, everyone was going through. What were the discussions happening at that time? And even the city has a collective emotion. So what the city went through, and then after that, you remember all those filmmakers and all, they went, and they kind of sort of almost like rubbing salt on your wounds, that kind of a thing, trivializing the situation. But what happened after that was much more gruesome, and now we know that, how it was tried to be whitewashed, how it was. And we didn't want revenge. See, we are normal people here. I mean, as Mumbaikars or as Indians, हमारा वो culture नहीं है कि हम बदला लेते हैं. But at least we want, because we believe in forgiveness. We are that. हमारा जो सनातन कल्चर बोलो, या हमारी जो भारत की तहजीब है, या भारत की जो संस्कृति है, we never believe in प्रतिशोध. We believe in forgiveness. But we also want one assurance that it will never happen again. तो वो assurance हमको नहीं मिला, because the regime at that time did not do anything to correct what had gone wrong. Instead, it tried to whitewash it. It tried to sort of look the other way because of vote bank politics, or jo bhi ho, whatever the reasons they are. So there was a lot of anger. And when I saw this sequence, it reminded me of those times. It made me angry again. Um, and it sort of disturbed me a lot.
And just craft wise, I mean, the way that he has shot that scene, and again, the background score has violence. I keep on drawing these parallels with Munich and Spielberg because, when you have these violence, you always think about John Williams esque, background scores. So, again, I got that, it was like a callback to Munich again for me, and that plays emotionally on you, right? Because like strings, instruments or strings, they have a melancholy to it.
Yeah.
And so that plays emotionally on you. And like you said, I mean, for anybody who, for Indians everywhere, but especially if you're from Mumbai and have lived in Mumbai, it strikes a different chord.
I mean, they just penetrated places of my city, which I used to go, like VT station, VT at that time, CST
Right.
now. I mean, I used to take a train there, and
Yes.
it could have been me. It could have been, and to see those, or किनको attack किया है आपने, those people who were probably after a hard day's job, they wanted to just go home and chill with their kids. Kids lost their fathers. Kids who were waiting for their mothers, their mothers never came back.
Yeah.
You destroyed families, you destroyed everything, and sorry, the government at that time did not take care of us. Yeah.
And, this feeling that you said that they attacked the places that, the feeling that you get that I was just there yesterday. That's exactly what that scene between Alam and Hamza is, where he says that mere ghar mein ghus ke, deen dahade. And that's that same emotion. That's that same emotion.
Yes.
And so although he's not from Mumbai, he's from Punjab, but he is essentially, representing that emotion, that collective emotion.
Correct. And what makes the character more interesting is that he has to cheer.
Yes.
He has to say Narayan Tabdir, Allah Akbar, whatever that dialogue at that time is, because he has to be a part of that gang. He has to blend in, right?
Yes.
So, and very few times you have cut to a tight close up of Ranveer, if you see in the whole film.
Yes.
These are the moments when you cut to a tight close, and after that, immediately he's on that bike, and that, they have sort of intercut between his bike ride, and then he reaches there. And for the first time, he's like venting it out. So, and to which Gaurav says that, Nazar or Sabar, yeah, we can, the only thing that is important for this operation to go through is that we have to be silent and we have to live. Because if we go right now and attack them and take revenge, the entire operation will be called off and India will be a lot unsafer than what it was when we left it.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, nicely done.
And this thing that has become a meme now, Abhijeet, is this thing about peak detailing by Aditya Dhar. That essentially it's just detailing. It's essentially good research and detailing. But I wanted to talk about a few of these quote unquote, peak detailing, moments from the film. On a serious note, some of my favorite moments of quote unquote again peak detailing are these where actually they've put in a lot of thought into that scene. And so one of them is, I remember that when before going back to just Kirat, Hamza crumples and throws away his cigarette pack before donning on the pug, the turban. So there is respect for the pug. You got to respect the pug, and you got to respect the turban, and he does. And so that's why before he goes back to being a sardar, he kind of symbolically quits smoking and throws away his pack of cigarettes. So I thought that was nicely done. And then there is this
Yeah.
cute scene, at the end of Dhurandhar 2, where Madhavan is negotiating Hamza's release with Raj Zuchi. And he's holding his grandson, who's sleeping in his arms.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
taking care of two kids at the same time. He's taking care of his grandson. And at the same time, he's taking care of another kid of his who is in a bit of a pickle. And he's trying to get him out on the phone. So that's again nicely done, and he's doing it calmly, and he's very cool about it. He's not,
Yeah. These guys are
because
very,
he
very
probably
cool.
has like 100 kids like these, deployed all over.
Yeah, and so much in control. When you see these kind of actions of the character when they are doing something so grave and so life and death, it
Yes,
just shows that these are men in control.
yes, yes. Another
Whereas if you see
instance,
that Shehbaz Sharif, he's all fluttering and all over the place.
right, right. Another instance of this again, quote unquote, peak detailing is when he burns those family pics. Two times he does that. Once he burns the family pic of his,
Yeah.
own family. And then the other time he
Yes.
burns
The
that
second
pic
time.
of himself, Yelena and Zayan. The
Yes.
interesting thing is this, Abhijit. When he burns those pics, he starts from the side that he appears in the pic. And, I kind of read into this again. And again, this might be too much reading into it. But the way that I read into this is that, it's symbolic of how, fire or danger will have to get past him before they can get to his family. And the second way of looking at it is that, it just buys him 2 extra seconds of looking at his family, while his part is being burned, and he gets to see, his family for the last time in the picture. So that's the two ways that I had read this.
Could be that because I was too overwhelmed to notice, because see, in the first viewing you never notice these things,
Yes.
you just feel these emotions.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, if I watch it for the second time, probably I'll notice these things, the Easter eggs or whatever you call it.
Easter eggs, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the characters and the acting performances, Abhijit. And we got to start with Ranveer Singh. I mean, I was really taken by his understated performance in the first movie. It is, first of all, it's so against the grain for
I don't think.
that right off the bat, you realize that you're watching a whole new Ranveer. And then time and again, we see him bring nuance to his performance, whether they are emotional silences, like that shot of him eating the biryani, while tears roll down his face. Or the emotional outburst, like the one he has after shooting Alam. So he really excels here in moving across the range, across the spectrum, depending on the scene and the emotional beat of the scene. And towards the end, I mean, we really almost, feel the pain of this man who has gone through double, personal sacrifice. First sacrificing his own family ties back in Punjab, the family that he was born into, and then sacrificing his family in Karachi, Yalina and his kid. So we really kind of feel for him that this guy is emotionally broken man, but he has done his job, that he was sent there to do. So he's phenomenal, I thought.
See, I feel, again, going back to the table, I feel this is Ranveer Singh. So this whole, we have this belief in this is in the industry that stars की वजह से फिल्में चलती है. So a lot of people are saying that this is a director's film and all. Yeah, but it's also a Ranveer Singh film. But it is not a Ranveer Singh the star's film. It's a Ranveer Singh an actor's film. Because like you're saying, that the restraint, and of course, absolute credit to the director and absolute credit to Ranveer Singh for trusting the director. Because when you have mistrust, when you're not able to arrive at a common parlance or a common grammar about what the performance should be, then you are sort of ununiform in those. It doesn't sort of stick well. But Ranveer surrendered himself. Aditya made full use of it, and he extracted that kind of a performance, which I think it will stay. This is something which becomes a benchmark for all of Ranveer's future works. Because what is interesting in that, he's not just performing scenes, he's double performing, because ek he is acting, okay, as Ranveer Singh, and dusra, most of the places he's acting as Hamza to the people. So whatever he's saying, he's not.
Great point.
Sometimes he doesn't mean that. Sometimes So those double things, acting within acting, is something that he has pulled off very well. He is phenomenal in the film. Phenomenal. There is no other word to describe it. Finally, the era of actors has come. It is the victory of Ranveer Singh, the actor. It is a victory of great writing. Um, and look at Gaurav Gera's performance here. So
Oh, loved him.
understated.
Loved him.
And look at the cheeky performance of Rakesh Bedi.
Oh
Those
my
little
God.
little moments that he extracts, Uh, जवानी के जोशो खरोश में तो हो ही जाता है तुमसे. He
Tumse.
just a blink and says तुमसे. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
so
I mean,
those,
Rakesh Bedi, I think he just was able to put his 50 plus years of experience,
yeah,
skill,
and he never
craft,
got his due so far.
yeah, into this one role, and it just exploded. Oh my God. The casting is
It
great.
exploded.
And I think Rakesh Bedi's performance is one for the ages. I think this will be
And of course,
remembered for a
Akshay Khanna,
long, long
though,
time.
with his flamboyance and
Akshay
everything,
Khanna
he
killed it too. Yeah. Yeah. He
killed
killed
it
it
too.
too.
Because see, again, look at the character. See,
Yes.
I go back to the very basics. The character that he has written, it's a character that the first time we see this character, he's a grieving father. So you're attached to him. Okay. And then he has those little dance performances, this, that, over this thing. And then there is a point where he decides to side against the Indians, which is with the ISR, when we are on the cusp of hating him. And then we start hating him. And in the end, we are happy that he's killed. So he has such a range to perform. So with such great material and an actor like Akshay Khanna, it is only natural that he would kill it, and he kills it anyhow.
And what about Madhavan? I thought he was great as
Amazing,
Sal.
amazing, amazing. Sanyal performance very under. So I worked with Madhavan in Breathe. So usually Madhavan likes to work a lot on the lines, on the dialogues. He's very anal about what lines are I'm going to say. Uh, but here also he uses the looks, the silences, you know, that impotent anger that he's experiencing. ये कुछ हो नहीं रहा है यार. But still he knows he has a job to do. I think all of those emotions he embodied very well. And so also even the Arjun Rampal is also phenomenal in this.
Rampal is great. I think this is probably his best performance. This is
Oh
probably
yeah,
his
yeah,
best
absolutely.
performance.
I loved him in Rock On also.
Yes.
Rock On
And it
was
takes
amazing.
balls to,
And
sign on a
Fazil.
character like this. And so props to him. A lot of
Yes.
people would have chickened out.
Yeah, because there must be already a template about how you play an ISA guy, na?
Yes.
And he breaks that.
Yes. Yes. And, lot of people tend to like typecast you and all that. So knowing all
Yeah.
that, he took on this project, and
Yeah.
he took on a project, where he's really, kind of going to dive into that character. So props to him.
Yeah.
But going back to
Yeah.
Sanyal for a minute again, Abhijeet, I just loved, how Dhar has given Sanyal this whole like superhero elevation. There is always rousing background score when it shows up.
But he is a superhero, by the way.
Yes, yes,
Ajit
yes,
Doval.
yes.
Ajit Doval, I mean, all the things and the whispers that I hear, because I also keep my eyes and ears open, because I also love whispers. Uh, the kind of things that that man is capable of, now you have no idea. And off the record, when I tell you certain things, na, your respect for him will only multiply. I mean, I'm sure you also know tidbits of that.
Yeah, do share some of the famous stories that you know of the record.
Maybe we will talk someday, but he's 80 plus, man. He's 80
Yes,
plus.
yes, yes. He's 80 plus. But the way that, Sanyal has been portrayed, right? I mean, he gets these rousing background score cues, the sound of the cigarette lighter snap back. You can tell that Dhar is a fan of Doval. And, he really wants to elevate, this character to that level. And
Yeah.
so I thought that was very interesting. And I thought that was very nicely done too, especially the background score cues. I mean, oh my God, those
Oh,
rousing
yeah,
background scores
certainly.
when he shows up and he lights up. It's like total
Hmm.
superhero stuff.
No, absolutely. Because someone who's planned this whole operation, he's the Chanakya, na? I mean,
Yes.
he's the master planner. So he has to be that. I mean, he has to be given that kind of a aura that deserves Ajit Doval. So yeah.
Now, I wanted to talk about the interval blocks of the two movies. The first one is, where Arjun Rampal, puts his hand over his shoulder, Hamza's shoulder, and says that मजे की बात ये है कि खबरी का पता चल गया है. And then in the second movie, the interval block is obviously the much
The
popular
shooting
scene
block.
now that घर की याद नहीं आई तुझे जस्सी.
Okay, I mean, just see.
So that scene. You know just as well as I do, and probably more than I do, that interval blocks are such a huge piece of mainstream Hindi cinema. That once upon a time, it was an art. If you go back to Salim Javed and bridge movies, the movies of the 70s and 80s, people used to literally wait for the interval because it used to be some kind of a cliffhanger, some kind of a twist. What do you make about the interval blocks of these two movies?
No, both are very nice. I prefer the second one better than the first because it was nice and it kind of builds up to अभी क्या होने वाला है? Is he going to be caught? Is he going to be? I mean, of course, one could guess where it was going, but it still was building up very nicely. So I like the second one because there was a promise of instant gratification immediately. कि इसके बाद सब कुछ resolve होने वाला है. So I came back to the theater. I came back to the seat immediately after. First one is Arjun Rampal saying what? I just missed it.
First one is Arjun Rampal telling Hamza, मजे की बात ये है कि खबरी का पता चल गया है.
हाँ, खबरी का पता चल गया. Correct. So we think, I thought honestly it is a Gaurav Gera, the juice wala.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean that's also, but मतलब ठीक था वो. It was nice. So I always like to treat my interval point as my climax, first climax, because it gives you that chance to sort of promise people what they can look forward to in the second half.
Right.
It's an opportunity. Like when Hollywood calls it midpoint, we call it interval.
Yes.
And when I begin writing, I need to know my interval point. Before that, I can't begin writing.
So you're saying you use it more as you know that this is where you want to end, so you can
Oh, yeah,
navigate
absolutely.
yourself accordingly.
Absolutely. I cannot proceed without knowing what my interval point is.
And I too, enjoyed the second interval more.
Yeah,
The
because that
interval
was
in the
all
second movie, because one of my favorite moments from both the films, in fact, happens around the interval, and that's when Hamza drops his watch during his altercation with Pinda. Again, this is I think it kind of symbolizes momentarily he loses his sense of real time, and it's kind of foreshadowing what's going to happen now. For
right.
In the moments that follow, he is about to go back to his old life upon running into his friend from that life, Pinda.
Right.
So it's like his real life has stopped for a minute, and so that's why the watch is off his hands.
Yeah, and plus also, okay, what happened to his sister? He's become a druggie, this, that. So I wanted to know how that they both are going to confront each other. There was also what is happening on that front, Suddenly he was a nice guy and now he's like, like in deep shit. So yeah.
Yeah. And it's also interesting that Pinda actually happens to slip over that watch, that's, dropped on the floor. And that's how he actually, falls back on that bathtub and kind of dies. So again, little things that, but I really enjoyed. And another thing that I found striking was that within a few minutes of the interval, we'll find out that Hamza has essentially lost his best friends from both his lives, Pinda and Alam. So Pinda is gone, and pretty soon, Alam's going to go too. That was again another reason why I enjoyed the second interval block. And
I really felt very sad that when that juice wala Gaurav Gera dies.
Yes.
I had genuinely loved the character, man. I mean,
yeah.
He
strikes the emotional chord, no doubt. He strikes the emotional chord, no doubt. Yeah. And especially, when he says that, ek bareli ka pocket mar and everything, that has a
Bareli ke
very
pocket mar mein.
nice, kind of a vintage throwback ring to it. Because you
Correct.
would expect this kind of a dialogue in from like a 70s, thriller or something like that. So, I
No, no,
again,
but it's so real and so relatable, that.
it is real, it is relatable.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, he is probably from that era, because he is an, older guy. So he's probably, from
Yeah.
70s and 80s, and we don't know exactly when he arrived there in Pakistan. But
Right,
he's
right,
also
right.
a senior guy. So again, that kind of nicely matches, with the dialogue that he says.
Yes, yes, certainly. And I mean, quite enjoyable in that sense, that आज तो बस मेरी आज तेरी कहानी सुन ली, मेरी किसी और दिन
Yes,
सुन.
yes, yes. Unfortunately, he
Right.
never gets that chance. And then he
Yeah.
goes back to that same chai shop. So that's also a nice touch in the end.
No, no, even the lines are in the film, they are also quite good.
Yeah, yeah. The dialogues are great. The dialogue is great. And
सगे और सियासत एक ही जुमले में नहीं आते यार, असलम यार, that is also.
जी.
फिर और क्या है, वो बहुत खून बहा रहे हैं, बहुत खून बहाया है बलोच अपने बहुत खून बहाया मैंने अपने बलोच की आजादी के लिए, तुम थोड़ी स्याही बहा के देख लो. All those things are like pretty good.
Yes. And we're going to talk about the music of the film, Abhijit. I mean, the songs, and
Yeah.
it's a banger of a soundtrack for both films. Just the range, the energy, the vibe, it's all on the money,
Yes,
and the
it's
choice of
very
the retro
modern.
songs as well.
Yeah. And see, very. I don't know a lot about the park culture and everywhere, but I think they are still stuck in those 80s, 90s songs. Because if you go to a lot of these villages, na, महाराष्ट्र में जाओ, यूपी में जाओ, कहीं पे भी ना, they are still stuck in the 90s era. So even if you're going in a rickshaw, okay, तो वो जो गाना लगाएंगे ना, that must be like देखा है पहली बार साजन की आंखों में प्यार. They're stuck in that era. They
Yes,
don't know आजकल के गाने. मतलब
yes.
even if FM or may not have come there, but and they enjoy आशिकी के गाने, साजन, then whatever, all those Avinash, all those films that were there at that time.
Nostalgia is very
So that
strong.
was,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Actually, that's again,
that gives good ref.
that's again a great detail, because I'll tell you, like, even when you go to like Pakistani hotels or in the US, they're always playing those songs from the 90s. So they will always be playing
Right, right.
Dilwale or, like you said, Ashiki. So it's
Yeah,
always the 90s. And,
right.
it's not like they don't watch, latest movies or anything.
No, but
Nostalgia is there for
something that sticks. I mean, it
something that
also
sticks. And again, that's something
gets it.
that's common between the two countries. I mean, even
Yeah,
we,
and popularity also kind of elevates that thing. Not that
yes,
they are so popular and so accepted
yes.
that you don't want to switch.
And the use of songs as well. I mean, in the film, if you look at it, I mean,
Superb.
it's superb. I mean, think about that Shararat song, which would be actually like an item song in any other film, but it fits right in to the plot there. And,
Yeah.
it helps that it's a great song, standalone song
Yes.
by itself, but it fits right
Right.
into the plot. So it doesn't feel really like an item song, or it doesn't really feel out of place.
Yes, but having said that, even the original songs that they have composed are also very good. I mean, they
Yes.
serve the
Oh,
purpose.
no doubt. Absolutely. I think Shaswat is extremely talented. I mean, he is.
Yes.
I think he's kind of reshaping the sound and the soundscapes for sure, especially with the background score and
Yeah.
even with the songs. Yeah. So and the one thing about Dhurandhar's soundtrack again is that again it has this huge Punjabi hangover, but it still feels different than the usual Punjabi hangover.
Yeah.
So it's not that same dhol and those Punjabi songs. It's a very different flavor of Punjabi
Yes.
music. It's a very different flavor of Punjabi
It's not
folk.
the typical वो भंगड़ा and all that.
Correct,
Typical जो रहता है ना,
correct.
वो नहीं है.
So even in that, he has breathed some freshness, Shaswat Sachin.
Yes.
So again, props to him as well.
Yeah.
And what else would you like to add, Abhijit? What else struck you about this film?
No,
What
I
is
think overall it's a great experience, and I think we have we as an industry we have made a very good film. मतलब, I'm not taking credit or anything, but as an it's a film that has brought audiences back to the theaters.
right?
It has inspired confidence amongst the trade and the theater owners. It has rubbed a few people the wrong way, but it has, I think, rubbed the wrong people the wrong way. So it's fine. But what more than anything it has done is that it has consolidated uh, the Hindi film industry. It has set a roadmap कि अभी यहाँ से आगे this is how we are going to make films. Where probably we will still go with stars or anything, but the primary driving force is going to be the writing and the direction, the technique, the craft. And it is not going to be based on sentiment के कितना कौन सा हीरो है और वो कितना opening. It is going to be nothing on that sort. It is going to be content and the audiences, nothing in between. So I think that roadmap that it has set, the promise, this consolidation, I think is a great thing that has happened.
Do you believe that this has now dawned the era of superstar directors more than superstar actors?
No, I don't think so, because I don't think a director should be a superstar, honestly. Because see, superstar क्या होता है? What I feel, my definition of superstar is who can also sell you bad things. So if some hero is giving you a great film, okay, I don't call him a superstar, because that great film is going to work on its content, irrespective. A superstar is someone who can sell you a bad thing. एक बुरी picture भी जो चला के दिखाए वो superstar है. So if a director is tomorrow expected to make a bad film and yet it will work because it has got his name attached, I don't want that, And I don't think any director today aspires even to be that. I think most of us are very happy just telling the stories that we want to tell, getting the budgets that we deserve, that the story deserves, and getting the respect from the actors and the trade for the vision that we are promising them. हमको इतनी ही चीजें चाहिए, हमको और कुछ ज्यादा नहीं चाहिए. Of course, awards, fame, and all, if that comes, why not? But and if that helps us get budgets, if that helps us get attention and get good actors, why not? But that's not the primary driving force. The primary driving force is still telling a good story the way it is meant to be told.
Right, right. All the awards part of it is complimentary, but the primary job is that.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest award is the audience. When an audience is going to whistle and clap in the theater for you, I don't think any award in the world can ever compensate for that one whistle and those four claps that a family is going to, sort of deliver a senior scene or a dialogue. But that experience is orgasmic. I mean, it's unparalleled, When you're on your deathbed, you're not going to remember the award. You're going to remember that experience that, oh, I was watching my own film in a theater and those people sitting 4 rows ahead of me, they were clapping, they were whistling, they liked it, they were laughing. That's what you take to your grave.
Yeah. It's like watching someone else, applaud for your kid. You
Yes.
feel like it's your
Oh,
baby
yeah,
that's
yeah.
being applauded. Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing better than that.
And what do you think are going to be the immediate, changes that are going to be ushered in because of this wide success of Dhurandhar, the phenomenon that these two films are, in terms of the stories that get greenlit or just in general?
So, a couple of things there. I mean, good and bad, both. See, whenever a film breaks an unspoken rule of storytelling or scale, it challenges existing hierarchies. So, hierarchies are already being challenged. Now, when a change happens, there are two ways in which you look at the change. Okay, one is that you copied blindly. Oh, now let's make spy thrillers and let's not put bikinis into it. Film chali jayegi. And let's put gruesome violence or gali. Now, that's a very superficial and a very surface level understanding of why Dhurandhar war. If you're not going to get it to the storytelling, or if people might say that हाँ India Pakistan था ना, ये थोड़ा right wing है ना, I don't believe in all those things, but that's the perception of people. इसके वजह से film चली. Now that's a very stupid analysis of why a film of this sort works. If you're not going to understand the writing, the craft, the sound designing, the production designing, the dialogues, the characterizations, if you're not going to learn that from this film, then God save you when you're going to make shit films over and over again that we have been making for the last 20 years, But if there are a few smart people in the room, the younger directors, I feel, are going to get inspired to make these kind of honest films. The existing directors who are good will certainly want to realign their crafts, not like make major changes, but realign and see कि इससे क्या सीख सकते हैं. See, whenever any good film comes, it is stupid to pull it down. Why pull a film down? Saying that yeah, the audience who's watching are Nazis or the audiences are only stupid that they're liking this. It's extremely shallow mindset that you treat success with this kind of a lens. You should learn when someone is better than you. You learn from. So I am assuming that the good directors are going to certainly learn from this. Um, the trade is definitely excited, but I hope the trade understands that the power of writing in this, and it's not the power of superstar. And they give the writing and the direction the importance that it deserves. Only then can we make better films. So this is the major change that is going to happen. People are going to aspire to come into films, and I hope we learn the right things.
Now, for you as a creative person, right? You're a moviegoer, and then you're also a creative person working in the same industry. When you came back from Dhurandhar as a creative person, what was the biggest takeaway for you, or that's something that you probably knew before, but something that was your biggest takeaway?
I think belief in realism only amplified my belief in realism. That see today, increasingly, if you smell the coffee, if you see where the audience is, how the people think, how they consume content, people are more gravitating towards realism. I mean, why did all these spy thrillers that we've been making for the last 10 years, why they haven't worked? You know, the reason they didn't work is because people didn't like it. Is because there was no realism in it. You show a raw agent and an ISI agent dancing in a party, drinking and all, and singing songs together. It's not going to work anymore. So I feel smelling the coffee, I feel understanding what the audience is like. I mean, it's a famous quote by Aristotle. He says that show me something unreal which is convincing rather than show me something real that is unconvincing. So when you talk of something real and convincing, if you're going to go to that best case scenario, you're talking about your craft, okay, which will make the unreal convincing, and you're also talking about realism, which will probably कि यार ये आईएसआई और रॉ एजेंट नहीं नाचते एक साथ, ये नहीं नाच सकते. No matter how much of a budget I have for that song, I cannot convince the audiences that this is going to happen. So that aspect of being real and understanding what happens in this world beyond the confines of our AC cabins, how the people on the street, in the rickshaw, in the train, on the buses, in the villages, in small towns, how they think. If we are going to get an a psychological understanding of that and put that into a writing, then I think it will work. And I think what I am trying to do is I'm not trying to overanalyze because see, it's an experience. Every film is an experience. Right now, we are talking because it's an academic discussion. But if you ask me before this discussion, what I liked about are अच्छी film थी, मजा आया, you know. But certainly one takeaway from me, Himanshu, in this entire film was how can realism become interesting. You don't have to be realism, मतलब those lingering shots and एक बैलगाड़ी जा रही है. That is not real. And just कोई गाली दे रहा है. Just those typical type of films which boast of being real but are extremely boring. Realism, when complemented with great craft, great technique, can become a 360-degree experience. That was my biggest takeaway.
Very well said. Very well said. I totally vibes with me. Just one another scene that just trickled in my mind right now, Abhijit, while I was listening to you, is remember that scene when Hamza returns and meets Sanyal in the hotel room, and Sanyal just says, "You did good."
Yeah,
When he comes back, there is no आज मैं तुम्हें सलाम करता हूँ और मैं
yeah,
सरकार से तुम्हारी सिफारिश करूंगा और all any of that nonsense. He just
hmm.
says you did good, and that's that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And
I mean,
again, that's the kind
it
of
says so
realism,
much.
right? Like you were just referring to
It-
the realism. This is the realism. Realism doesn't mean that you're standing somewhere in the field or something like that. They're in
yeah,
a hotel room what matters is what he says. What matters is the conversation, and he just says, "You did good," and that's that.
And I think what you don't say is saying a lot. I mean, like you said, कि वो पूरा glorification and this that वगैरह की जरूरत नहीं है. Audience has already seen his sacrifices, his choices, his suffering, his bravado, his everything. So another character coming and just summing it up doesn't make sense. I
Yes,
felt all of that, and those "अच्छा किया" या "good job" is enough. It just hits it.
yes. Again, I mean, in this movie, there is not a single quote unquote patriotic song. There is no, quote unquote, slow mo fluttering flag shots.
Right.
Maybe there is a shot of a flag, Indian flag, but it's not really like that fluttering flag. There is no
And
instance
उसके
of.
सामने से हीरो चल के आएगा and all that. Like
Yes, yes, yes. There is no shot of anybody trying to
those
save
check boxes
a
are not.
flag on fire. None of that crap. But, look at the patriotic quotient of the film. I mean,
Yeah.
it's way more than any of these films could conjure.
Yeah, because I think, see, when you're watching this film, you believe कि ये सब हो रहा है ना. And the choices that he has given him, that pains that he has given him, the
Hmm.
way he looks at his country, कि मेरे घर में where he has nothing to do with it. Still that guilt that I gave him that gun. So it just makes it a lot more patriotic than just saying Bharat Mata ki jai.
And I wanted to ask you this since you're a filmmaker yourself, and you had a huge hit in Dr. Kashinath Ghanekar. What kind of pressure it puts on you, creatively and commercially once you have that kind of a hit, under your belt? Because, you're expected to step up your game. And now there is just no way that you
Yeah.
can make a smaller film, although you would love to as a creative person. But the market forces and the commercial forces are such that they are going to throw a lot of money at you, a lot of freedom at you, and they're going to say, hey, just go out and do your dream project or whatever. But, the kind of pressure that I can only imagine that Dhar will now be under for his next film.
Yeah. I feel if you're grounded and if you are coming from a very I would say quote unquote purist and an innocent ambition of just telling your stories, I don't think these things affect you. Uh, I
Did
think
you
it's
did you go
it's just I
through
just want to,
something similar after Ani Dr. Kashinath Ghanekar? Like people
not really, man.
did
I mean,
studios said,
not
"Hey, look, we just want you to make a huge film now."
no, because see, I came from Marathi, so Marathi, anyways, the definition of huge is itself not very huge. So the kind
Sure,
of
it's all
visuals that
relative, right?
it is relative, of course, but even in the kind of scripts that had already worked even before Kashinath or on the side of Kashinath, I don't think a Marathi film budget could have absorbed that vision. So say a Shantaram or couple of things that I'm doing in future, I don't think they would have Marathi would have allowed me to do that. I would have loved to make most of my films in Marathi because
Yes,
I think language is no longer a barrier. But unfortunately, what happens is that the budgets don't support you, and then you're cutting corners, then you're cutting the number of shooting days, then you compromise on the cameras, then you compromise on everything, the practice days, the improvisation, everything. Then eventually you come up with a product which you yourself are not happy with. So then I have decided that I'll make Shantaram when I want to make it, only when the things fall in place. I'm not going to hurry into it. I'm not going to, just because I've announced doesn't mean that I want to make this film and release it December. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make it. I'm going to give it the kind of respect that the film deserves, the kind of budget that the film deserves, and the kind of work ethic that the film warrants from all of us, including actors, technicians, and myself, and producers.
great. Well, Abhijit, that was great. I, had really fun chatting Dhurandhar with you, and
Yeah,
I
likewise.
want.
I mean, your observations were very interesting. Now, I'm going to go back and whenever Dhurandhar comes on, or if I get time, I'll go into a theater if it's still running and see this or those few things that you said about the watch, about all those things that was the child cinema. So maybe I'll enjoy the film in different ways than what I have already.
Thank you so much. If you liked the episode, do spread the word on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your pods. Also, please do drop us a review when you get a chance. You can follow me on Twitter and Insta at loveofcinemasf8. You can reach me by email with your suggestions and comments, and you will find the email ID in the show notes. That's the episode. This is Himanshu, signing off, and like always, thank you for listening to the Love of Cinema podcast.